It's a final countdown.
Günaydın. Güzel sabahlar olsun. Good morning to you all, distinguished members of the parliament, representatives of the ministers, members of the organic world from different countries, many countries from all over the world, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, we would love to welcome you all to the 18th World Organic Congress in Istanbul in Turkey. The World Organic Congress is organized every 3 years and, of course, is the biggest event under this topic, gathering all the organic lovers, practitioners, investments, and volunteers from all over the world. We are so excited to host this event, this outstanding event in Istanbul, Turkey. As you may easily imagine, it was a hard work and involved many hands to make this dream come true. And, of course, you need dreamers to make big dreams come true. Here's one of them, Victor Ananias. He sure was a big dreamer. Not only a dreamer, but also a big believer in the power of life. RIP Victor Ananias. He's watching us from over the mountains. We love him. He is the founder of the Buğday Association for supporting ecological living, and we are sure he's around here today. IFOAM, the International Federation of Organic Agricultural Movements, chose Istanbul as the host city, not only for Turkey's potentials, but also because Buğday was here. So please welcome the President of the Board for Buğday Association, Aydemir, and the President of IFOAM, Andre to the stage for their opening speeches.
This is for you.
Thank you. Yeah, I love this. Thank you. I'll keep it.
Parliamenters, Mr. General Director from Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Animal Husbandry, executives of foundations and supporting corporations, distinguished members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I greet you on behalf of the Congress host Buğday Association for the Supporting Ecological Living. Cultivate the future has been a motto in one of the previous organic congresses. What a truly meaningful motto. It is such a profound coincidence that spreading seeds is one of Buğday's major activities. Buğday has been sowing a great deal of seeds for the sake of sustainability for over 20 years in this territory. Therefore, it is such a pride and joy that this Congress is taking place here. This Congress is Buğday's harvest in a way. Those of us that have been working in the workshop of this Congress feel like we are watching a seed born and flourish. Seeds of an idea that have been sown in a small local market stall almost 20 years ago are becoming visible here today. We are in a large city of the country, and today the whole world is here. Welcome. The Congress is a fruit in a way. It is somewhat from the seeds sown by the late Mr. Victor Ananias, the founder of Buğday, growing and yielding precious fruits. The legacy is that sustainability is the essence of any ecological project. Sustainability of ecological life is the sustainability of a healthy humankind itself. Therefore, we all should start rethinking on the way we live. For those who are present in this hall, it is an event that we are participating to build bridges. We have determined the motto of this Congress as building organic bridges. The main reason is the location, not only that it is held on a land that unites continents since dawn of time, but also she cherishes multiple cultures and traditions. The second reason is that it has brought together so many distinguished people that have been preoccupied with the organic issues worldwide. We believe the significance of building these bridges as an aspiration between people, ideas, and territories. May this Congress build sustainable bridges and bountiful harvests. I take this occasion to express my sincere thanks to IFOAM family on their decision to hold this event in Turkey. It carries tremendous value to those who are concerned. Thank you. Enjoy your stay.
Thank you, Gülsüm. And firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the parliamentarians from the parliament here in Turkey, the directors from the Ministry of Food, Agriculture and Animal Husbandry, and I think most importantly, you as our delegates. Unless you were here, this would be meaningless. And I think, for me, I think what is really important, we're actually one of the most historical and critical areas of our planet. This has been a crossroads for thousands of years. It's the meeting point of Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. And while in many cases those meeting points might have been defined by war and conflict, they're also defined by the exchange of ideas. And you know, this city has been one of the great cities on the planet. Constantinople, when it was set up, had one of the greatest libraries, the greatest centers of learning. And the other really critical thing for us, because we're here to talk about agriculture, and this is one of the centers on the planet where over 10,000 years ago, agriculture originated. For 10,000 years, agriculture was organic. We've had a very short 50 years where we've lost the plot. But I think if this world is going to survive, we need to make sure that in 10,000 years' time, the world is still organic. And this is a message that we can take from here in terms of the long-term sustainability of our systems. I suppose for me too, being on the stage here and looking out, and I can see so many familiar faces, old friends, but also very excitingly, new friends who have come here. If part of the whole concept when we talk about building bridges is networking. We have people here from every arable continent. That is just marvelous. It's an opportunity for us to share ideas, to learn from some very good speakers that we have for you, and then to bring these ideas back to our countries, back to our regions, and put them into action. So, I suppose what I really want to say here is that this is not just a conference. It's a time when we can actually get together and set the future of agriculture for our planet. And I think this is what we need to think at that level, at big picture. Instead of seeing us as, you know, organic agriculture being seen as a niche or a fringe, we aren't. We are the one agriculture that is growing when the rest of agriculture is losing farmers. And we need to celebrate that, and we need to get these ideas out. Lastly, I'd like to make a few acknowledgements because I know what's involved in these events, and a lot of people have done a lot of work. People like Gülsüm, our friends in Buğday. I'll have to read that out because, and hopefully I'm pronouncing everyone's names properly, Tugay, Gizem, and also Denise from Z, who are the conference organisers. There's been a scientific track as well, which I think is very important for us to get the science, and I'd like to acknowledge the two people who have done the work with that. That's Yügen Aksoy here from Turkey, and also Professor Gerald Rahman from IFOAM, and the work they've done to bring that together. Our IFOAM staff, I can't tell you how much work they've done, and they really deserve, you know, their recognition for the hours they've put into it. Frank Ihorn from the World Board, he's put a lot of time into this as our World Board representative. But one person in particular I really want to acknowledge because I know how much he's done, and an enormous amount, and that's our Executive Director, Marcus Arbens. And Marcus, I just want to say thank you so much, and I think we should acknowledge him and everyone. And lastly, I just want to say, you know, this is a time for us to celebrate and enjoy being together and celebrate our diversity. So I just wish you the most wonderful 3 days, and let's enjoy being with each other and take this back to where we come from. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Güneş'in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Many thanks to our presidents who made this dream come true. Thank you so much. Well, for 3 days, we will have many parallel sessions and, of course, many workshops in 9 different rooms and auditoriums in this particular building, the Istanbul Congress Center. We will have the chance to share our experiences of different countries and listen to many experts and practitioners on food security, organic agriculture, certification processes, sustainability for sure, innovation, and, of course, market issues. But now, let's have a look to the big picture in Turkey in terms of the organic life. Please welcome Mr. Mevlüt Gümüş, the General Manager of Plant Production General Directorate from Ministry of Food, Agriculture and Animal Husbandry. Tarım, Orman ve Hayvancılık Bakanlığı'ndan Genel Müdür Sayın Mevlüt Gümüş aramızda. Sayın Gümüş'ü sahneye davet ediyorum konuşmalar için. Hem de böylece Türkiye'deki organik yaşamla ilgili genel fotoğrafta görmüş olacağız. Sir, Mr. Gümüş, please. Günaydın, hoş geldiniz efendim. Good morning, sir. The stage is yours.
Değerli katılımcılar, sizleri ülkemizde misafir etmekten mutluluk duyuyoruz. Bakanlık olarak desteklediğimiz bu kongreye ve ülkemize hoş geldiniz. Türkiye tarımı ve organik tarımı hakkında bilgi vermek gerekirse, bulunduğumuz coğrafya başta olmak üzere dünya genelinde ekonomik, sosyal ve küresel alanda yaşanan gelişmeler ile küresel iklim değişikliği ve doğal kaynaklarda yaşanan azalma tarım sektörünü önemli ölçüde etkilemektedir. Dünyada yaşanan gelişmelere rağmen Türkiye tarımı son 10 yılın 9'unda büyüyerek tarımsal ekonomik büyüklük açısından Avrupa'da 1. dünyada 7. sıraya ulaşmıştır. Bakanlığımızca yürütülen çalışmalar ve üretime yönelik teşvikler ile çok sayıda tarım ürününde Türkiye dünya liderliğini sürdürmektedir. Türkiye tarımı 77 milyona ulaşan nüfusun gıda ihtiyacını karşıladığı gibi 197 ülkeye 1660 çeşit tarımsal ürün ihraç eden bir sektör konumuna gelmiştir. 2002 yılında 23,7 milyar dolar alan tarımsal milli gelir, 2013 yılında 61 milyar dolara çıkmıştır. Tarım ürünleri toplam ihracatı 4 milyar dolardan 17,7 milyar dolara yükselmiştir. Bu gelişmelerin sonucunda tarımda kişi başı milli gelir 1064 dolardan 3483 dolara yükselmiştir. Türkiye tarımında yaşanan bu yapısal değişim ve dönüşümün arkasında yatan en önemli neden, tarımsal faaliyetin tüm taraflarını sektörel bir yaklaşımla ele alan politikalardır. Türkiye, gıda ve tarım sektöründe net ihracatçı bir ülkedir. Türkiye, gıda bakımından dış ticaret açığı olmayan bir ülkedir. 77 milyon insanımızı, 35 milyon turisti besliyoruz. Bakanlığımız 2013-2017 stratejik planı oluşturulan kamu yönetim sistemi ekseninde paydaş odaklı, ortak akla dayalı günlük politikalardan azade, alan, amaç ve hedeflerde optimizasyonu sağlamaya yönelik rasyonel ve vizyoner bir bakış açısıyla hazırlanmıştır. Ülkemizde yapılan tarımsal faaliyetler arasında organik tarımın da önemli bir yeri vardır. Bakanlık olarak organik tarıma önem veriyoruz ve destekliyoruz. Ülkemizde de organik tarım yıllar itibariyle gelişme göstermiştir. İlk yıllarda organik bitkisel üretim başlamış ve bitkisel üretim yaygınlaştıkça organik hayvancılık ve organik arıcılık da gelişmeye başlamıştır. Organik tarım ülkemizde yasal mevzuatı olan bu konuda Organik Tarım Kanunu ve Avrupa Birliği mevzuatıyla uyumlu yönetmeliğe göre yapılan faaliyettir. Ülkemizde organik tarım faaliyetleri ilk olarak 1985 yılından itibaren 8 ürün çeşidiyle başlayan üretimimiz 2013 yılı itibariyle 213 ürün çeşidine, 2002 yılında 12.428 olan çiftçi sayısı ve 90.000 hektar alanda 310.000 ton üretim yapılırken, bugün itibariyle yani 2013 yılı sonu itibariyle 61.000 çiftçi sayısı 769.000 hektar alanda 1.620.000 ton üretim miktarlarına ulaşılmıştır. Bu kongrenin ülkemiz organik tarım sektörüne ve tüm ülkelere hayırlara vesile olmasını diliyor. Kongrenin düzenlenmesinde emeği geçenlere teşekkür ediyor. Hepinizi saygıyla selamlıyorum.
Çok teşekkür ediyoruz Sayın Gümüş. Sağ olun efendim. Thank you, sir. Many thanks. Mr. Mevlüt Gümüş. The Organic World Congress will have 3 main tracks, as you may already find in your booklets. It will lead on through the main track, the scientific track, and of course the practitioners track. We have hundreds of attendants from all over the world. Let me name all the countries: Egypt, Sweden, Italy, UK, USA, Syria, Nigeria, France, Iran, Bulgaria, Mexico, Bangladesh, Hungary, Canada, Germany, Switzerland, Iraq, Portugal, Brazil, Belgium, Finland, Greece, Spain, Austria, China, Sri Lanka, India, Tunisia, Norway, Ghana, Indonesia, Denmark, Poland, Uganda, South Korea, Tanzania, Kenya, Poland, Netherlands, Australia, Japan, Uganda, Colombia, Slovenia, Bolivia, Ethiopia, Argentina, Philippines, Norway, Vietnam, Morocco, and Estonia. Yes, that's all of you, the world. Welcome once again. And of course, that would be impossible if we hadn't had all of our sponsors. I will thank each of them after this speech. Please welcome one of our gold sponsors, Doğan Organik, Mrs. Begümhan Doğan Faralyalı from Doğan Organik, the chairwoman of Doğan Holding, please. Ms. Faralyalı. Günaydın, hoş geldiniz. Bu rüyanın gerçekleşmesinde many thanks.
Dear guests, esteemed members of the organic community, welcome to the 18th World Organic Congress staged by IFOAM. We are proud to host in Istanbul this international congress, which is vitally important with respect to agricultural development, food safety, and sustainability. We, as Doğan Holding, also very proud to be a great supporter of this event, as organic is a subject very close to our hearts. Although Doğan Group is mainly known for its operations in media, energy, tourism, manufacturing, unknown to many, we are also passionately involved with in organic agriculture through Doğan Organic. I'm deliberately stressing the word passion here because Doğan Organik is more of a social responsibility project for us rather than a commercial venture. Launched in 2002 in Calkut, our hometown in the eastern Black Sea region of Turkey, this project is a gift by my father, our honorary chairman, Aydın Doğan, to the land he was born and raised in. The goal of Doğan Organik is to create a sustainable development model for the Calkut area by introducing organic livestock farming and agriculture. Doğan Organik's Calkut venture currently employs 60 people and 100 contract farmers. We train our contract farmers, support them in animal feed supply and investment, and find markets for their products. The model now yields up to 12,000 tons of milk from 1,400 certified organic cattle, which has made Doğan Organik one of the largest organic milk suppliers in the region now. With its proven success, the Calkut venture is now a sustainable development model for agricultural economies of today. It made an organic agriculture hub of not only Calkut, but the entire eastern Black Sea region of Turkey. The brilliant results Doğan Organik achieved in 12 years, together with its contract farmers, are a source of pride for us at Doğan Holding and the people of Calkut. This model brought Doğan Organik the top award in the SME category in the European Corporate Social Responsibility Awards run by CSR Europe. We also participated in the European CSR Award Best Practice Exchange Forum in London, where we shared the details of the project with corporate social responsibility professionals and representatives of the business world. The project's becoming an exemplary model in the international area is one of the key indicators of our success. As we in Calkut, and many of you and others around the world, embrace organic agriculture to reduce environmental impact in pursuit of economic development, there still remains much to be done for a prosperous future. We hope this Congress, as a platform to exchange ideas, experiences, innovation, gives us inspiration and contributes to the development of organic agriculture around the world and in Turkey. I thank you and wish you all a great stay in Istanbul.
Thank you, Mrs. Faralyalı. Thank you very much for our sponsorship also. Thank you. Yes, that was our gold sponsor, Doğan Organik. We also have silver sponsors, bronze sponsors. Thanks to all of them. Yeditepe Sağlık Hizmetleri AŞ, our silver sponsor. GAP, Republic of Turkey, Ministry of Development, Southeastern Anatolia Project, bronze sponsor. Rapunzel Naturkost, our bronze sponsor. Scientific participant sponsor, Doğuş Agro Projects. Congress back sponsor, Ali Nihat Gökyiğit Foundation for Education, Health, Culture, Arts and Preservation of Natural Resources. Name badge sponsor, Hattı Food. Juice sponsor, Elite Natural İçecek. You can find them everywhere in the exhibition hall. And our official sponsor, of course, the Republic of Turkey, Ministry of Food, Agriculture and Livestock. Scientific content partners, Ege University, ISOFAR, International Society of Organic Agricultural Research. Strategic partners, BioFac, ITO, Aegean Exporters Associations, FIBL, Research Institute of Organic Agriculture, Hendrik Böll-Stunfug Association, INOFO, OFIA, Organic Farming Innovation Award, OVA, One World Award, TAXO, Technical Assistance for Civil Society Organizations, TÜNEN Institute, Yeditepe University, and our media sponsors, Açık Radyo, Atlas Turkey, Capital, Eco IQ, Hürriyet, National Geographic Turkey, NTV, Organic Market Info, Yeşil Gazete, and our airline network Star Alliance, carbon offset sponsor Soil and More International. Thanks to our carbon offset sponsor Soil and More for making the whole Congress, the Organic World Congress, carbon neutral through organic composting on Soil and More's organic compost project in Sekem, Egypt. Many thanks to them. Yes, we're carbon neutral. Transportation sponsor DB Shankar Arkas and organic food supplier Cityform, and of course, many, many, many volunteer hands. Many thanks to all of them. Thank you. And now, for our last opening speech, please welcome Ms. Nadia Shalaba from FAO Italy. Madame. Buongiorno. Günaydın. Hoş geldiniz. Good morning.
Hello. I would add Lebanon to the list of countries, by the way. Ladies and gentlemen, President of IFOAM, President of Buğday, I'm very happy to be here today representing the FAO Director General, José Graziano de Silva, who could not come today because it's the World Food Week, and we have the World Food Committee meeting starting this day, today actually. This year is dedicated to the family farming, which has been declared by the UN as the International Year of Family Farming. Increasingly, we have seen this year's events and celebrations where it has been achieved, I think already, a heightened awareness of policymakers of the importance of family farmers to food security. Today, there are 500 million family farmers in the world, occupying 56% of the lands, but 98% of the agricultural holdings. The contribution of family farmers to food security, to rural livelihood, and also to the provision of environmental goods and services is more than recognized today, because we had in last week's the different committees in agriculture, on FAO, the Committee on Commodity Problems, and other governing bodies meeting. And there is already a commitment from our membership, our constituency, to dedicate more resources to help and increase the productivity of smallholders and family farmers. Just a few weeks ago, before I come, FAO, together with IFAD and WFP, has released the 2014 State of World Food Security. Well, the good news is that hunger has decreased. We have today 805 million people who go undernourished. It's about 200 million less than 2 decades ago. In terms of ratio, we are down from 23.4% of the global population to 13.4% of the global population. So most probably, we will be meeting the targets of the Millennium Development Goals in halving the number of hungry people. However, this is not enough. And we need really to look at food security indicators much more closely. So in the same report that has been recently released, we have made an analysis of different countries to look at the different components of what constitute food security and why food security is not progressing more than what it did. And we see that today we have much more food than ever in the history. The main problem, for example, where we have the challenge is sub-Saharan Africa, is because of income growth. People don't have access to food, or there is political instability. The region like Southern Asia, where we have the highest number of hungry people, i.e. 276 million people, the main problem in accessing food security is utilization. It's because of sanitation problems, because of unhealthy conditions that really hinder participation. So with those lessons, we are looking at, how can we establish an enabling policy environment for achieving food security, because the target now of the Sustainable Development Goal 2 is to eradicate hunger in the next 15 years. And there are 3 main points I would like to highlight. The first one is that countries should have legal framework which do facilitate and implement the right to food, and to have accompanying social measures. The second one is to have a space, create a space for civil society participation. And finally, the third element, if I can recall, let me see, you know how these things happen. Okay, it's an obvious one. The third point is to work more in an intersectoral manner by looking at environmental, health, food, and agriculture in one go with more coherent policies. What I'm trying to say is that, you know, food security is a very complex phenomenon, and it's not only about productivity. And the recent recognition of the participation of civil society and its contribution is somehow being implemented already with the partnership that FAO has been having with IFOAM, that has been very active in being present in our civil society mechanism of the World Food Summit. We had, a few weeks ago, conference on agroecology, where many friends from the organic community were present. So as a result of that, the Director General of FAO has declared that he would like to establish a global alliance on agroecology, and this alliance will allow us to work better together from the government's part and the civil society part in making that journey toward more food security. So thank you very much, and I wish you very good work during these few days.
Nadia, thank you. Thank you very much. From Italy, FAO. Pomegranate, not only a beautiful and a delicious fruit, but also a big symbol for this land of Anatolia. It's a symbol of prosperity, of beauty, for sure, long living. The motto for the Congress is building organic bridges. We have so many people from all over the world. I'm sure that we will achieve our goal after 3 days. To make it seen on social media, please use 2 hashtags. For Turkish, you can use hashtag Organik Kongre, and for English, you can use hashtag Organic Congress, and you can share your comments, your photographs, your hopes, your wishes through these 2 hashtags throughout these 3 days. Now, we'll have the chance to listen to some good music.
Once upon a time, there was a tree in the middle of the desert. It was very, very old tree. It was as old as the human history. Once upon a time, there was an orchard. But in time, the other trees dried up, one by one. Only this tree remained. Its roots were going deep down under the ground, and its branches were longing up to the sky. Its trunk was strongly standing, but at last it was too old. And for a long time, the tree hasn't bloomed, although it's alive. red-orange flower. And days passed, wind blew, sun rised and set, moon waxed and waned, and the flower turned into a pomegranate. It was alone on the tree, just like the tree was alone in the desert. I saw that tree, the flower and the fruit. I dreamed about its seeds. I wondered how it cracked, sown by whom, and how many pomegranates it has given so far. I thought it was a very strong tree, because it remained all after so many disasters. I went to the tree, I sat down underneath. Suddenly, the tree talked to me. She said she will die after fruit is dropped. But she said her fruit will be strong enough to sow new seeds, new flowers. And then there will be a new orchard again. She said there will be new trees, new fruits. She said many birds and many other creatures will visit the orchard again, and the new life will start. It happened just like what she said. One day, all of a sudden, the pomegranate matured and decided to drop. And the tree started to die. It dried, dried, died. Dropped down to ground, and it stayed there for a while. It started to rot, its skin peeled off, and its juice were so delicious. Wind saw it and sent a call to the bird's realm. A bird flock flew over the sky. They found the rotten fruit. They gaggled it, drank its juice, and swallowed the seeds and flew over. They spread the seeds to the desert. Some say these seeds were not only pomegranate tree seeds. They were also carrying the wisdom of old pomegranate tree. The wisdom which contains a huge diversity of ideas, motivation, and love. The best wishes of the old pomegranate tree to the audience for a bountiful congress to build up new organic bridges.
Storyteller tells bridges. Pomegranate tree. Old pomegranate tree. Old pomegranate tree.
A great story. Many thanks to Güneş'in, to Tugay. Tugay, thank you. Can you stay with me for a couple of more minutes? Sumru, many thanks, great voice, and Orçun. Thank you very much. That's a very outstanding instrument. Can we hear more? A little more? Biraz daha duyalım mı? You want to hear a little more of Ney? Thank you very much. Pomegranate is a big symbol for Buğday Association also, and also our symbol for the Organic World Congress. We have many sayings on pomegranate. We say, for example, çarşıdan aldım bir tane, eve getirdim 1000 tane, meaning I bought one, and when I open it up at home, I had thousands. So it's the prosperity. And we say, for example, nar tanem, nur tanem, which is a saying of love to a lady, trying to tell how beautiful, how shiny she is. So we love the pomegranate, we love the organic life, we believe in life, we believe in sustainability, and all of these people here for 3 days, and for the future, we will make it come true. Now we have 2 panels moderated by Uygar Özesmi. Please welcome Mr. Özesmi. A very well-known social leader in Turkey. Uygar, günaydın. Good morning.
Merhaba.
Hoş geldin, welcome. You will moderate 2 panels, the stage is ready, and you will announce your panelist yourself.
Yes.
Keep it. It's precious.
I love it.
Okay, great. So listen to Uygar Özesmi and the 2 panels.
Özlem talked about a riddle. She said, I bought it from the market. I came home, it's 1,000. Now, I see that it's not just a pomegranate, it's an IFOAM granate, because look at here, there are 1,000 seeds, and all of you are so sweet today, but hard in the middle with the pit. So let's see, with this opening plenary, we have some incredible guests with us to start with. And therefore, I would like to invite first Dr. Yemi Akim Bamijo. Yes, please, here he is. And then also Kathleen Merrigan, if you can also come. And finally, Christian Felber, bitte. Please. Please. Christian. Yeah. Kathleen, please. So the way we are going to run this is first we're going to have 15 minutes of presentations from each of you. We will ask Yemi to basically set the scene for us, and then Kathleen will continue, and finally Christian will close. And then we hope to have a good discussion here with all of you about the very important things that you were talking about, especially not only tackling all our challenges, but especially we want to focus on how we're going to be building the bridges for the future that we all want to create. So Yemi, the stage is yours. Please start. Let me first introduce Yemi to all of you. He is the executive director of FARA, and FARA stands for the Forum of Agricultural Research in Africa. and he was the head of division of agriculture and food security of the African Union, which is a very critical organization for Africa, and the director of the African Union Inter-African Phytosanitary Council, and he served on the Africa-Arab Joint Action on Food Security and Agriculture, and he has a PhD in agriculture and environmental science together from the Wageningen University, which is a fantastic institution in the Netherlands focusing on agriculture. Please, Emi.
Thank you very much, Uga, and a very warm welcome to you all. It's a great pleasure for me to give the very first presentation in this epoch-making Congress. I will be speaking about the challenges that is now confronting our world, and my presentation this morning, the outline is as follows. The challenges that are impacting the whole conversation around agriculture and food systems. I've always said it, the challenges always abound, but overcoming the challenges is the real challenge. We know the challenges too well, but how to overcome them. And the second point I want to speak to is that the organic solutions will provide us the means to overcome these challenges. And thirdly, what actions do we need to take to be able to realize the potentials that organic agricultural systems will offer us? We're speaking at this panel on the subject that the world is challenged. But I should ask myself, what is this challenge? As it presses towards 2050. What this shows us is that we reached the first billion in a space of more than 1 century. The second billion came in a space of 33 years. The third billion came in a space of 14 years. So this is the kind of challenge that we are confronted with. And are we able to match the requirements, the food requirements that these population changes are confronting us with? On the other hand, we have an unsustainable consumption pattern. Just to put it in context, an average European will consume far more resources than any of the poorest 2 billion people. Nadia was speaking to us earlier on that there is a decade ago there was 1 billion hungry people. But just an average European will consume a lot more than any of the poorest 2 billion people will consume in the world. And on average, a European uses only about half the resources used by a North American. Now, if you look at the pictures on the screen, it shows what is consumed in a week by a Westerner and another family that is extremely challenged in Central Africa. Now, if all the world's 7 billion people would consume as much as the average North American would consume, the narrative is that it will take more than 5 additional planets to be able to meet that demand, but we have only 1 planet. The global food demand story since 1500 to present is such that the food need is continually increasing, of course, because the population story is also changing. But looking back over the last couple of decades, from 1961 till 2000, population has risen by 98%, and food production rose 146%. Per capita production rose 24%. Yields have more than doubled thanks to technology, science, technology, and innovation. Arable land rose by only 8%, and land per person fell from 0.5 to 0.25 hectares. Inputs rose manifold because there was 7 times increase in nitrogen fertilizer, 3 times phosphorus, and 2 times the irrigation water. Now, the challenge for us about meeting the food needs is, in a pictorial sense, what is on the wall. But balancing the food supply and demand, which is the greatest issue that is confronting us today, I would suggest that looking at the gap, looking at the three columns here, we need to fill the production gap and also sustain our production capacity. And in doing this, we need to deal with expanding agricultural land, irrigation, aquaculture, closing yield gaps, new farming systems that intensify land and water use, crop and livestock improvement, and so on. And in sustaining the productive capacity, we'll have to be looking at avoiding degradation, dealing with biotic and abiotic stresses, minimizing impact of climate change, and adapting to unavoidable climate change issues. The Green Revolution, what did it bring us? It averted hunger in the early 60s. And this year, thanks to the work of Numan Bollock, who is also being celebrated as we speak this week in Des Moines, we demonstrated also what is possible when the power of science, policy, and society are all pulled together. But this has left several key issues unresolved. Hunger and poverty is still with us today. Most of the world's challenged hungry people are still in Africa and in Asia. Nutrition and health is an issue, environmental degradation and sustainability issues, and not readily application of heterogeneous context. Ultimately, it was not so green after all. There is now time for us to make another shift. Now, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results will not work. We need to shift towards an agriculture and food system that increases productivity and sustainable economically and environmental systems that will enhance resilience of systems, that is well adapted to smallholder context because more than 80% of food we eat are still produced by the smallholder farmers, and helps to address issues of nutrition and health in a holistic system. According to Jose Graziano, the FAO Director General, he stated that we can no longer rely on an input-intensive model to increase production. The solutions of the past have shown their limits, and therefore, we need to explore alternatives that are based on science and evidences, not on ideologies. And I like it very much when Andre said, we're not just occupying a niche. There is time for another shift, and agriculture is not the only sector that is making this. It's happening in manufacturing systems and in energy. Now, the question confronting us today, is organic agriculture a viable alternative? And I have personally thought through this myself. Several studies have shown that productivity of organic agriculture is comparative. It's comparable with conventional approaches. It uses less energy, water, and inputs. It's more profitable. It's greater resilience. Carbon footprint is less, and there is greater biodiversity. But a common concern is about whether we can generate enough nitrogen from non-synthetic sources. And I think I'm continuously convincing myself, I've seen this in a few Latin American countries, that we can actually generate enough organic matter to substitute synthetic fertilizers. And what are the implications for pasture land to generate animal manure and for labor? In Africa, the organic movement, there are a number of organic producers in the top 10 countries with largest numbers. And you can see in this graph, India tops the list, and Uganda is, Uganda and Tanzania, Ethiopia, are in this top group of organic movement countries. If you look at what has happened in a country like Uganda, exports from the country continues to rise, and coming up to almost 40 million US dollars per annum as at 2010. The movement in Africa is nascent with huge promise, but still grappling with issues of recognition, acceptance, and policy. stronger in Eastern and Southern Africa than in the West, and much more or less in the Central. And it is driven by foreign market opportunities. Therefore, it focuses more on horticulture, medicinal beverages, and not the staples on which the local food security largely still depends. What next for the organic movement? I think we should be devoting more scientific attention to organic solutions. I come from an institution that is actually the apex institution for agricultural research in Africa, but we need the input of science, technology, and innovation to demonstrate the benefits of organic agriculture. Organic agriculture should not be promoted as a silver bullet designed to supplant conventional approaches, but the organic agriculture we should shed off the niche image by developing value chains of staple foods to respond to local and regional needs. Strategic actions that are needed to also reposition organic agriculture in the context of continental frameworks for advancing food security. And therefore, we will be integrating organic agriculture in sustaining the CAADP momentum. The CAADP is the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Program, which is based on the Science Agenda for African Agriculture, which is also the continental framework for CAADP work streams. Number two, that we will also need to build on the January 2011 African Union decision on organic agriculture. That is a very strong point on the continent where the decision makers of Africa have put their power behind organic agriculture, and also to buy in from all institutions mandated to take forward the AU decisions, action plans with resource requirements, strengthened evidence based on organic agriculture to address food security at local levels, and FARA, my institution, is prepared to play its part on science and technology for organic agriculture. We should then look forward to transition into action. In conclusion, I would like to state that we recognize that the world is changing in terms of the demography and in terms of the demands of the future. The solutions of the past will no longer serve us anymore, and therefore, they will be less effective in the future. Organic agriculture is a promising supplement to conventional approaches. And thirdly, research and advocacy is required to establish how this can be scaled out to expand its benefits. And I still maintain that Africa has the largest potential in the world to tilt the balance in terms of having a positive net food supply on the planet. And so let's move on from the blah blah and to the do-do. Nobody eats potentials, people eat food, and wholesome food for that matter. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Yemi. That was a great presentation, setting the stage for us and giving us power to go ahead. And now we have Kathleen Merrigan to give us our second presentation. She's the Executive Director of Sustainability at the George Washington University. Dr. Merrigan was the U.S. Deputy Secretary and Chief Operating Officer of the USDA, the U.S. Department of Agriculture. She led the Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative to support local food systems, and was a key architect at the First Lady Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign. And she was also the first woman to chair the Ministerial Conference of the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO. She was also named among the 100 most influential people in the world in 2010. We are so lucky to have you with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. It's great to be here. I see a lot of old friends in the audience, and I just want to thank the conference organizers. So far, so good. What a great opening, and what a really beautiful city to come to engage in our very important conversations. So, I'm going to ask for forgiveness on these slides to begin with. Back when I was a deputy secretary at USDA, there were 110,000 employees there. Someone would help me with slides. Now I have 1 3/4 people working for me, so it's a little sketchy. I was asked by the conference organizers to give you a sense of some of the things that I'm finding inspiring these days. What's really kind of making my smile come on the face, and also to talk a little about the challenges. We've all been asked to do that. So what do I find that is really inspiring? Well, when I first started in the world of organic, I was working in the United States Senate, and I was working on legislation to set up national organic standards. And when I called the US Department of Agriculture to get information, I've since been told, the staff was told, don't take her calls. And if I actually got someone on the telephone, not to be given the truth was what they were told, because the Department of Agriculture did not have any positive feelings about organic agriculture. Times have radically changed. They made me Deputy Secretary of Agriculture. I mean, that was the least likely person of all, Miss Organic, and I was right there working with the President and the Secretary of Agriculture. We have now an organic literacy initiative at the Department of Agriculture that has, in the first couple of years, 50,000 people have taken an organic literacy course as USDA employees to learn more about organic agriculture. That's an incredible sea change. And this little bar graph that you see is the amount of money and effort that our US Congress is putting into organic agriculture. Still too little overall, but I like the trend line. The Secretary of Agriculture, the current Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, he's talking about organic agriculture in all of his speeches these days. And every 5 years, the US government has a census of agriculture. The last one was completed in 2012. And it found that organic sales were growing, as they have been all along. They still account for only 0.8% of the total value of US agricultural production, but it's a good trend again. Organic farmers reported $3.12 billion in sales in 2012, which was up from $1.7 billion in 2007, the last time the census was taken. That inspires me. Government can change. And there too, I will look at FAO. You heard from Nadia Shalaba already this morning. FAO just had a really great symposium on agroecology. It is the year of the family farmer. Governments can change. International organizations can change. I'm really excited about what's going on in my country around local agriculture. It is hot, hot, hot. And most of organic is local, most local is organic. It's not two completely different worlds. This is something that our president has talked about the importance of job creation. It's something our First Lady has talked about in terms of healthy eating. At USDA, we had the Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative, trying to reconnect people who are not connected to the farm back to why it matters. Who's your farmer? How is that food produced? Why should you care? I'm really excited about Farm to School. It's going great guns in my country. I think I have a statistic here. 38,000 schools, 21 million students, 350 million in local food buys in the census that the Department of Agriculture just took. School gardening is on huge rise. Kids getting their hands in the soil, trying to figure out what's going on with those worms, and really learning how to eat healthier meals as a result because of that exposure, that experiential learning that's taking place in the gardening. Reconnecting kids with agriculture, pretty exciting. This is going on right now. Coach Smallwood, who is the executive director of the Rodale Institute, is on a 162-mile trek from the Rodale Institute site in Pennsylvania, rural Pennsylvania, to Washington, D.C. And his purpose is to deliver a white paper that the Rodale Institute has just come out with. It's available on their website, Regenerative Organic Agriculture and Climate Change. In this report, it says that regenerative organic ag can sequester more than 40% of annual CO2 emissions. So coach is walking across the country to deliver that to Secretary Vilsack. I'm not exactly sure what his day of arrival is, it could even be today, but pretty exciting. That inspires me. I love this book. If you're looking for a book to read this year, it is The Third Plate by Dan Barber. A wonderful, wonderful new book. He quotes ecologist Frank Elger in this. Nature is not more complex than we think, but more complex than we can think. This is an incredibly intelligent book by a chef that really trumpets the great gains in organic agriculture. And what Dan Barber is doing is he's working with traditional crop breeders to breed crops for taste. I went to one of the most amazing meetings that I've been to in years at the Stone Barn Center for Food and Agriculture in Tarrytown, New York. And I heard a breeder from Cornell University stand up and say, in all his years as a plant breeder, he had only been asked to breed for resistance and yield. And all of a sudden, he has chefs coming to him asking to breed for taste. It is a potential revolution there. And you can read about it in The Third Plate. It inspires me. I know that George Seaman and Teresa Marquez are here from Organic Valley. Their farms in Organic Valley in our country contributed data to a study that was published in PLUS One on December 2013, a very important study that starts to provide the scientific basis for what many of us know in our hearts. There is some nutritional superiority from the organic methods. In this study, looking at whole milk, whole organic milk from grass-fed farms, and I should know this by heart, but let me get my statistics, found 62% higher omega-3s, 18% more CLA, and a much healthier ratio of essential fatty acids. Really great to see a study like that based on organic farms, very comprehensive, very rich, published in a very important scientific journal. That inspires me. And finally, I want to talk about fresh blood. In that census of agriculture that USDA just did, the numbers are encouraging. Young, beginning principal operators who reported their primary occupation as farming increased 11.3% from 36,000 plus to almost 41,000 in the last 5 years. And also there was an incredible rise in minority farmers. That inspires me. Okay, now this, I'm going to see if we can show the video. I know this is, we're not sure this is going to work, but we're going to try.
A message from the false advertising industry.
I love dogs. You never hear a dog ask, are there any hormones in here? There better not be any genetically modified organisms in my food. Oh, what about antibiotics? All right. They can't read. Right, they have no legal rights, and their owners will spend a fortune on them. Dogs. They truly are natural's best friend. You are gonna make me a fortune. Again, enjoy that all natural, meaty meatness. We can't legally call it meat. Come here, let me kiss. Oh, you can really taste the persistent pesticides. Yeah.
That ad, or fun little video, inspires me. Go to this website, onlyorganic.org. What inspires me is the organic industry is starting to fight back and calling natural what it is. And people need to understand, because consumers don't. They go and they think organic and natural are the same thing. And this is an aggressive campaign to educate consumers about their food. This inspires me. But I was also asked to talk about challenges, of course. So I do want to mention, and this may be more of a unique US-based phenomenon, and I hope for the sake of the organic movement it is, but we have a lot of infighting within organic constituencies where we take any disagreement in our industry to the press as if it's a moral high ground issue. And what happens is these articles get into the newspaper, and consumers whose organic literacy, despite all USDA's efforts, is still very low, get very confused and very discouraged about organic agriculture. So I really think that sometimes our industry, it's its own worst enemy, and that's a challenge, how to mature the politics of the organic movement. We've certainly done a lot internationally with more and more equivalency arrangements. That's where we need to be moving. Organic must be pro-innovation and pro-science, and sometimes some of the rhetoric I hear is not. We don't know what may be on the horizon tomorrow, and for me, I always say it's organic farmers, they're the greatest research pioneers, they're the greatest innovators, and we need to have that throughout all of our rhetoric. And listening to Dan Barber, when he talks about his book, he does challenge us to think beyond the heirloom tomato. Heirloom tomatoes are very hot, local, organic, they're juicy, they're wonderful, but there's some reasons why they didn't dominate overall long-term in the market. And instead of always thinking about going back, we also need to be thinking forward. And what kind of tomato is on that horizon that we've never thought of before? This, by the way, is just my current little pet peeve. Innovators, a lot of people are doing green roofs, and a lot of people are doing PV solar on roofs. And I'm working in my own way at my new job in trying to find ways that we figure out all the kinks so the symbiotic relationship between the PV panel and the green roof are really captured. So we have to constantly keep moving forward, and that's the whole basis of organic, continuous improvement. That's got to be at our core. And I do note that we have the Innovation Award at IFOAM. I'm excited about that. Non-GMO. So there's a lot of push to have a non-GMO label. We have several that are emerging in the United States anyhow. The problem with this is that consumers, again, they don't really understand, and they see that label and they sometimes buy it over the organic label. Organic is the original non-GMO label. It has a process of verification, very strict standards, and I'm worried that this movement in the non-GMO labeling world potentially will erode the organic consumer base. So I think we need to watch this one. Challenges, better than organic. So I am just really concerned that a lot of young people that I talk to, young farmers in particular in the United States, are not going organic. They say, well, yeah, I do organic, but I do organic plus. It's better than organic. It's authentic. It's, I don't care about that bureaucracy. I don't care, organics, that's not my thing. I connect with my consumers. I'm just really worried about this, that they don't really get the sense of the importance of the organic movement, that it's not just standards, it's not just that food you put on the table, but it has a deeper meaning and it has a potency that their individual efforts don't capture. So my little part in this, I am not dying, I'm not really all that old, but I'm putting all of my organic papers that I've collected over the years in our National Agricultural Library, in particular to allow young people to go through them all and enhance the study of organic agriculture. For those of you in the audience who are long in the tooth like me in the organic movement, I challenge you to do the same. We need to get the history out there and accessible to young people who just don't seem to get it in some cases. The millennial generation. So, I'm back on a college campus. You know, my students don't read the newspaper. They're smart, they're savvy, they're worldly, but they think and act and embrace the world in so many different ways than I do. And a lot of times there's a lot of disconnect there. I'm really trying, the two boards that I'm on in my personal world are both very youth-oriented. Food Corps, it's young people going into schools. The Stone Barn Centers, they have a beginning farmer program. I'm back at a university. But I think this is a really big challenge, to get into their heads and figure out how we can make them the greatest organic advocates and ultimately leaders, so cultivate. I'm asking everybody, as the final slide here, to take the under 35 challenge. To find 3 people in this next year, maybe there's someone there to the right or the left of you in the audience, 3 people under the age of 35 that you are going to nurture over the next year. We need, as that wonderful musical, poetic show that we just saw showed, that pomegranate, that one pomegranate, the dying tree, and it has 1,000 seeds. It's time now for us to be thinking about young people, to invest in them, nurture them, and when the day comes, to follow their lead. So as we look to build bridges, my thought is the most important bridge for us to build right now is to the next generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathleen. That was great. It shows us where we are going to go in terms of the overarching possibilities there are in really making organic agriculture big. Christian. Christian Felber is a writer and a lecturer at the University of Economics in Vienna. He co-founded ATTAC in Austria and is the initiator of the Economy for the Common Good and Bank for the Common Good in Austria. He is an internationally popular speaker and the author of a couple of bestsellers, such as 50 Suggestions for a Fairer World, New Values for the Economy, and The Economy for the Common Good, Money, and so forth. The new rules of the game is one of the things he wants to set, and interestingly, he's also a contemporary dancer.
That's true.
Christian.
Yeah. Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me to this very important Congress. It was Bernhard Geyer who found me and asked me to contribute a proposal for a whole system change. So I will present a complete alternative economic model. The time has come to think about alternative economic models, not because a former president of a powerful country has recognized that, but because even a former president of a powerful country is recognizing it. According to opinion polls in my country, in Austria, and also in Germany, 90% of the population say we ask for a different model in the economy. 90%. That's tremendous. And if we have the choice to change by disaster or to change by design, then I would say we ought to try to change by intelligent design. I teach at Vienna University of Economics and Business, but I'm not an economist. Very thoughtfully, I'm not an economist because the vision of the academia on the economy is a lot too narrow for me. I wanted to study universal sciences, which was not possible at the universities because they have forgotten what their name means. And so I studied some different disciplines and tried to become an autodidact. And my vision on the economy is that it's just a part of the whole. It's not an end in itself. It's an instrument at the service of human societies and the planet. That's why I don't show you the famous triangle of sustainability, because social well-being is an end in itself, ecological sustainability is an end in itself, but the economy is not an end in itself. It's just a means of a higher purpose, which is the social well-being, which is sustainability, which is the common good. For me, it's just an intuition, but it's so logical and so wise, and it's in full contradiction to what we are witnessing in the real economy and in business today. When I go to schools or universities and ask students, which is the goal of the economy? No matter in which country, the answer is money, profit, profit, money, money, profit, profit, money. And then I ask back, but why do you think so? Who tells you this? Well, that's what we learn at school and at university. And then I ask again, but on which sources do they refer who tell you this? No idea. No idea. No clue. And as I'm not an economist, I have the opportunity to take a broader look on different sources, and I took a look into constitutions. And constitutions tell us a different story. The goal of the economy is the common good. And the role of capital is also clear. It's just the means. And this famous inversion that the money, which should only be the means, as already Aristotle said, if it turns into the goal, into the purpose, then we switch from an economy for the common good into a capitalist world economy. Aristotle already distinguished between the oikonomia on the one hand, which is an economy aiming at meeting human needs, and the krematistike, which is capitalism. And the difference between both is that in the oikonomia, money is only a means to serve the good life, and in the krematistike, capital and the increase of capital has turned into the purpose of business like this. I show it because it's so important to have clear which are the values, the goals, and the means of the economy. That's what the economy for the common good is about. And it's not only the Bavarian Constitution that is supporting this vision, this order of things, but it's all constitutions of democratic countries that repeat the same, even after the United States. It's not about justice only, it's about general welfare. And the initiative of the common good has been started by a dozen of Austrian companies. It's them. By the way, do you know the Latin meaning of company? It comes from cum and pane, and it means breaking bread together. This is the original meaning of a company. And those entrepreneurs in Austria, they said, we love to found private companies, that's great, but we would like to do it at the service of the common good, respecting human relationships and ecological relationships, and we want to be rewarded for that and not punished, because our business experience is that the more ethical and the more sustainable we behave in the world economy, the more competitive disadvantages we suffer. So this system is against ethics, and we would like to design a system that is rewarding ethics. And what we together then did is to figure out why ethics is not leading to success in the economy at the moment. It's due to the present rules of the game. These are the present rules of the game: the strive for profit and competition, actually counterpetition, to act against each other, which is making unethical behaviors more successful than ethical behaviors. And the proposal is to switch them to striving for the common good, collaborating, collabora, for the common good. This is the new proposal, and the effect should be that ethical behaviors in business lead to economic success. Maybe that's the core of our analysis. Today, we do not measure economic success alongside the goal of the economy. The failure we are doing in the economy is that we are measuring economic success on all levels of the economy alongside the means of the economy. The return on investment of a single investment, the financial profit of a company, of an enterprise, and the gross domestic product of a national economy are all three monetary indicators. But money, as we have already heard, according to our democratic constitutions and already according to Aristotle, is only the means of the economy. And never ever in history, any project originator tried to measure the success of his or her project alongside the means. That's just a methodological failure. Always the success has to be measured alongside the goal. If, of course, we agree on the common good as the goal of the economy. We do not say the common good must be the goal of the economy. We demand decentral democratic processes to figure out which should be the overall goal of the economy. And only if we agree democratically upon the goal of the common good, then we ought to adjust our indicators of economic success measurement. If a democratic process had the result that the overall goal of the economy is the increase of capital, is profit and money, then everything is fine and we ought not to change anything. Our movement is only 4 years young, so if you do not know the economy for the common good and have never heard it, then don't worry, we are still a baby in historical terms. And of these three instruments, we have developed one, which is the common good balance sheet for enterprises. And from the 1,700 enterprises that have joined us so far, more than 200 have implemented this common good balance sheet to the final stage. If you look at the horizontal orange bar, you see 5 core values. And the common good balance sheet measures how authentically, how consequently a company lives these core values. It's not only about ecological sustainability, it's in the same way about social justice, solidarity, human dignity in a first stance, and democratic co-determination. If you think that these values have been developed by ourselves, then I'm happy to disappoint you, because these 5 values are the most frequent values of democratic constitutions. So there's really absolutely nothing new about the economy for the common good, because we're taking most frequent constitutional values, we're taking goals from the constitutions, we are turning money into a means only to serve the goals and values that we already found there. And we measure them with all stakeholders, and the result can be measured in points, in common good points. And these common good, we have just heard a lot about seals and labels, and the result could be put on all products and services, on the website, on the front door, everywhere of a company, to give a quick and full information to consumers. Because we are at the moment now living a flood of labels and brands and seals, and who controls them and who makes me sure that this is right or that is right and which is the more important one. The idea is to integrate all ethical information in only one instrument. Maybe it's not the common good balance sheet in the end, but after an integration process of all this ethical information, consumers will have the choice because they have the information. If they pass with their mobile phone over the QR code, then on the display of the mobile phone they will have all the information, or they look it at home in internet. And then we still have a perverted economy, in the meaning that the ethical products, although fully transparent finally, would be still more expensive than the less ethical ones. And this is the perversion, because those companies that fulfill the values of the democratic societies have a significant competitive disadvantage because they offer at higher prices. This is not an intelligent economy. This is not an effective economy, because effective would mean that those who fulfill with the values of this society can offer at cheaper prices than the less ethical ones. I think this would be an intelligent design of our market economy. And how could we achieve it? We could achieve it through market-conform mechanisms of incentives. There are just some of them. We could give lower tax rates to ethical companies. We could, in international trade, give priority to ethical products and services. We could give more favorable conditions in the bank for the common good, which I don't have the time to present more in detail, but you can look it up or build it better in your country, because we will only make it regionally as for a principle. If you would like to make a similar bank in your country, we make, according to the open source principle, we give you all the information to build it up, but this bank will check every loan request on its ethical impact on the society, because measuring only the goodness of an investment as for the financial return, then we know if the means of the economy is increasing, but we do not know if this investment in its overall balance is destroying the common good or increasing the common good. So in our vision, every major investment should also pass a common good assessment, an ethical creditworthiness assessment. Yeah, there are lots of instruments through which we could shift this price relation for consumers. Ethical products and services should become cheaper than less ethical ones. Then companies have to change, have the choice, or they change and transform into more ethical companies, or they exit the free markets. Okay, I'm already finishing because we have 15 minutes for today. I only want to add that the model is a complete model, and we also have proposals on working time, on social security, more measures on ecological sustainability, and also, quite important, proposals to prevent the super concentration of power in the economy. Because according to our view and analysis, the super concentration of power in the economy and consequently in politics is destroying freedom. So in a truly liberal, in a truly free market economy, no income, no private property, no size of a corporation should become so big that the same opportunities and freedoms and rights of others or other rights and freedoms of others are endangered. So our proposal is to also provide mechanisms that everybody and every human has truly the same freedoms and the same rights, not only economic freedoms, but fundamental and political freedoms. Just one tiny example. This is the present inequality, degree of inequality in income in different countries between the legal minimum wage and the highest known income of a single person in the according country. And I've made opinion polls in more than 25 countries, and first I let people propose the maximum inequality that they would like to be implemented as a legal standard. And in all countries, from Finland to Argentina, the result is almost every time a maximum factor of 10 between the highest and the lowest income. So a yes to inequality, but a stronger yes even to the limitation of inequality. And who could decide this? Who should decide this? And our proposal is that this should be really a bottom-up grassroots process in democracy. So the proposal is that in our municipalities, in our local communities where we live, and where democracy is starting. There we decide upon the fundamental questions of the economic order, and this will one day be implemented in constitutions, and then our beloved parliaments and representatives have a very clear basis for the concrete and precise laws to implement the directives of the sovereign people. The last minute I use to tell you the state of the art of the movement, of the only 4 years young movement. It's 1,700 companies with 200 pioneers. It's more than 100 local groups in 25 countries. And we have spread up into more than 15 roles in which people engage. So far we founded 14 legal associations in Austria, in Spain, even in Colombia and Argentine, and once a year the pioneer entrepreneurs present themselves with their balance sheets to the public, and also municipalities are starting. We have the first common good region in the north of Italy, and other regions in Austria are changing their constitutions already according to which we propose. And if you want to take a closer look to the overall model, there is a website which will be updated in about 1 month in English, because as we are so young, the process is slow. And the book has been translated to 9 languages, but not to English yet. The book, Economy for the Common Good, will be published by a London-based publisher by the latest in June 2015. So until then, you can look the information up on the website, and I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Christian. That's a true bridge to the future in terms of the economy. So let's have a small discussion amongst each other to kind of open up some of the issues that we've been discussing and to bring sort of the connections between the different talks together. So I want to kickstart with a question to Yemi. You've shown a very interesting dichotomy between sort of the picture in Central Africa and then a picture in the US, I assume. And one seemed very prosperous and very healthy. The other one seemed also very healthy, but not prosperous the way we understand it prosperous. How would you go deeper into that picture, and what needs to be really done, also in the light of what Christian has been just talking about?
Right.
Yardımcı olabilecek.
Okay, I think I got it. Well, thank you very much for the question. I'll answer the question by an analogy. We are all in the same house, but in different bedrooms. We are on the same planet. And I think the whole issue is addressing the inequalities. There is enough to go around. But if you go back to the picture that I showed, where one family has much more than is required, so to speak, and another is just grappling to get by. Now, this is what is happening on two sides of the divide. On one hand, there is a seeming picture of affluence. On the other hand, there is a seeming picture of want. Now, how do we bridge this inequality? And bridging this inequality is actually something that is a social responsibility for us all. And I remember answering a question like this a few weeks back, and I was speaking to young students in a university in America, asking me, why is it there is so much food problem in Africa? I said, no, there is food problem in Africa and in America. The problem in Africa is that we have so much of what we call the post-harvest losses happening before the food gets to the table. But on your side, there is so much of food losses happening after the table. So how do we, and it's just a question of looking out for each other to ensure that we are able to put in policies and institutional mechanisms that will address these seeming disparities. But all in all, I think on the average, there is enough for everybody.
Thanks very much. Kathleen, do you think we need to bring down that American consumption?
Our First Lady thinks so, so I follow her lead. That was the ingenuity of Let's Move, trying to beat back obesity in the United States. And the United States is one of many developed countries with obesity problems. Interesting, in the slide that you showed, in that American, I assume American family in North America, anyhow, it's a lot of processed food. Yeah. So we have a lot of challenges to eat better in the United States, but we have huge hunger problems. And that's not talked about a lot. We have 47 million people in the United States who receive food stamps, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, and that's not all the people who are eligible. Only about 35% of eligible elderly actually apply for the government benefits. So we know there are a lot of people who are quietly living in hunger. And so even in a country of such great wealth and plenty, we haven't figured out the distribution, the access, the equity issues that we really need to do. And one of the challenges, again, for organic is this notion that organic is for the elite, that it's more expensive. In a lot of cases it's not, but certainly that is the perception. In some cases it is. And if we are building bridges, there's a lot of need to build bridges between the hunger advocates, the nutrition scientists, and the organic movement. Those are bridges that are very important to build.
So, Christian, given that we perceive a problem here, and given that you've talked about a new economic paradigm, in a way, how do you think does organic agriculture play a role in sort of bridging this sort of inequality that we've been just talking about?
Well, I think that system change only can be successful if the two dimensions of individually ethical behaviors, initiatives and practices, as for instance organic agriculture, as for instance fair trade, as for instance renewable energies, are supported and promoted by the legal framework. That's what I'm talking about. So I'm curious to ask questions both to Yemi and to Kathleen, maybe to hear from your side, because first, Kathleen, you just repeated again that the organic products are more expensive and so maybe only accessible for a consumer's elite. What's your opinion to a proposal that proposes that through legal incentives, the organic products become cheaper than the conventional ones? Actually, we all know that conventionals are more expensive, but not in the direct price in the supermarket, because the costs that we have for health, we do not see in the prices. The taxes we pay are externalized, so we don't. But to mirror the cheapness of organic foods also in the prices for consumers, thanks to market incentive. And maybe more precisely, you presented us as a whole series of seals and labels. And how about a possible linkage between the fulfilling of these seals and labels and legal incentives? And the question to Yemi is, is there a debate in Africa and the African Union on different economic models? And is there a debate among the African countries about exiting the World Trade Organization and the free trade regime and switching to a fair trade regime, maybe based in the United Nations. I know that the whole African Union and the nearly 52 members of the WTO in Africa are against patents on life. This is a position in the WTO. And how about the position of exiting the free trade organization and strengthening a fair trade organization within the United Nations? You would have the support of the majority of the populations in European countries, although you have the fierce opposition of our governments. Just to give you this information, and to put it even more general in a snapshot, do you think that free trade is more important than saying sustainable development? Or the other way around, do you think that sustainable development is more important than free trade with its consequences?
Let's start with Kathleen, because that's a long question to Yemi. Let him figure out. And you'll get your turn to ask back at him. So, you can also think about that question to Christian as well. Please.
So, in some cases, in many cases, organic is not more expensive. It depends upon the season and what you're buying and where you're buying it, because we have more plentiful markets for organic, say, in California than we do in Wyoming, obviously. So it's not across the board, but it certainly is a perception, and in some cases it's a reality.
Kathleen, also an interesting thing from Turkey to give you, organic agriculture is the cheapest in Turkey, because the people who cannot afford all those inputs are doing organic agriculture, if not certified, still organic, and it's cheaper because they don't have to pay for all those inputs. So if we think of that paradigm, it also helps in sort of understanding that organic agriculture in a widespread way is done in a much sort of different way, if not certified, but because it's not certified because they can't pay for the inputs to get into the certification system. Yes, please.
Lovely. Well, it's complicated, right? Because a lot of the issue on costs also involves scale and where you live. If I am a livestock operation, I may be large scale, and I may help my bottom line by having a very active rendering part of the business. If I'm a small local guy, I probably don't have access to that. So it's a complicated process. But your real question to me was about government, I believe, government coming in and trying to lower the price of organic. Is there a way for the government to be the equalizer or to shift the balance? Well, we do have Walmart, which is our largest retailer in the country now, talking about offering up organic food and lowering the price. And a lot of my friends who are organic farmers are really panicked about that because they're just making ends meet now, and they worry about that. The problem, I don't see our federal government doing that anytime soon. We're still trying to get the government to remove barriers to the purchase of organic in some of our federal programs. The WIC program being a very important one, where we support mothers and their babies in buying food if they're under a certain income level, but we don't allow them to buy organic. So there's still a lot of bias in the system. And there's not, despite the trend line I showed you in terms of government resources, it's still not comparable to what is put into conventional agriculture. So we're going in the right direction, but we're quite away from your vision.
Thanks a lot. Yemi, that question.
No, it's okay. Well, thank you very much, Christian, for your question. Let me start by addressing the issue of free trade and sustainability by saying, first and foremost, as far as Africa is concerned, we are on an unleveled playing field. Africa does not have the might, the economic or the market clout to compete. Now, if you look at what has been happening in global trade, the contribution of Africa in global food trade is far less than 5%. And what that means, and this is a continent that has 60% of the world's arable land, 90% of world's water, and this continent is unable to participate in global trade. Every time, and I'll give a very succinct example. A Ugandan farmer who is well adapted to produce bananas cannot sell one finger of banana in Amsterdam, harvested yesterday in Uganda and marketing in Amsterdam market or any European market for that matter. Why is this? But on the other hand, a cut flour from an Ethiopian farm will arrive in Amsterdam flour market the following day. Why? African farmers and their produce will be labeled as not fit for European market, but their flours are fit for European market, and their flours are replacing their food fields. And what that means is that the net capacity for the Africans to produce their own food is declining, and that's why you see the food import bills in Africa growing. Now we are over $50 billion per annum. This morning, I can say with almost 90% chance that anybody who has drunk a cup of tea in West Africa would have paid a Dutch company, a Dutch farmer, for milk. Whereas this is a continent that will attain 2 billion population by 2025, currently at 1 billion. This is a huge potential to develop its own markets, to develop its own, and actually there is no reason to be a net importer. But unfortunately, because of the rules of the game in fair trade, eggs in Europe expire after 6 or 7 days. You see it stamped on it. But eggs arrive in Africa after 30 days of going through the oceans, and they are considered fresh eggs. And I mean, this is what I call dead food. Chicken arrive in Africa. I will not name countries, but chicken arrive in Africa, slaughtered 4 months ago, 6 months ago, and they are called frozen food. And these chicken, they come on our markets. They are far cheaper than what the African producers can produce. So economically, they kill the African producers' incentive. So this is what we are grappling with when you talk about the free trade. And we are not given the free power of reciprocity. In other words, what Africa has the potential and the capacity to do, we are not able to reciprocate that simply because issues of phytosanitary constraints will pop up, and all other trade barriers will pop up, and Africa will lose out. So this is what I mean by saying we are not on a level playing field.
So you're basically saying we don't need any free trade, we need some fair trade, right?
Yeah, I mean, free trade has destroyed the economy of most countries on the continent.
Yeah. So that's also part of the global economy and the way it shapes the local economy, and that there aren't the protection that Christian was telling in his system as well. Yes, Kathy.
Well, I agree with all your points. I also want to say we don't need wacky trade. And I'll just give you an example. So I was in Utah in a small slaughter plant, and they were taking beef trim that had been shipped from Australia to Utah, and then they were grinding it, frozen beef trim. They were grinding it with locally produced ground beef. And at the end of the line, it's stamped freshly ground. So from the consumer's point of view, they think this is something fresh. Yeah. I mean, it's just the whole trade system. Bottom line, it's wacky. It's not rational, and there's so many problems.
So we're running out of time. So I will ask Christian to make some comments with regards to the answers, just a few sentences, and then we'll take a round. We'll start with Yemi, Kathleen, and yourself. Please say a few sentences as a final note that you would like to share with the audience, please?
First, a comment on...
First, a comment on the comments.
Yes, well, thank you. My impression is that there is a common vision on the state of the art of the rules of the game, and that we do not agree with the rules of the game. But if we look at our governments, what they decide is still pushing the same rules of the game through the European Union, through the government of the United States, the USTR, and the TTIP, free trade agreement, which is abolishing, it's an euphemism, is abolishing freedom. So the conclusion is always the same, because the conclusion of the second point, that if you ask people directly, would you choose a free trade regime that is having these devastating effects, or would you prefer a fair trade regime? Then I think there wouldn't be a single country where less than 80 or 90% would favor the fair trade regime. But people don't have the choice. So my major conclusion is, besides ethical individual consumption, we need our engagement as citizens, and to ask for democratic constitutional processes. My vision is on a decentral basis in our living communities to write the first democratic constitutions of the future, which contain, instead of capitalism, an economy for the common good, and which contain, instead of that euphemistic free trade, fair trade.
Thank you. Yemi, your final remarks, a few sentences.
Right. It's good to be here in Istanbul and to talk about the organic movement. But coming from Africa and holding the position that I hold as the apex institution that is responsible for food security on the continent, I am much more concerned that there is a bleak future. And what is it that this conference will conclude on that will reduce these very frightening future? There is an evidence before us that demands a verdict. If we do not work out how to keep this planet food secure, especially the most challenged continents like Africa, we will have a very serious crisis in the next coming decades. We've already exceeded the capacity of the planet, and we need to come up with innovative strategies, of which organic farming is a potential solution, but we need to work it out in a much more convincing way for the parliamentarians and policymakers.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. Kathleen?
Thank you so much. I want to just say very innovative thinking from my fellow panelists, good questions from the moderator, and I look forward to the next few days, all the presentations, so we can go from blah, blah, blah to do.
Excellent. And Christian?
Well, only inviting you again to participate in an economy that is pushing out all types of agriculture that are not sustainable and organic out from the profitability and from the competitiveness zone that they vanish.
To the collaboration zone.
To the collaboration zone, to the organic, sustainable ethics zone. And as it's a big vision, of course, the offer is to contribute in tiny contributions as a single company, as a single university. The first universities are doing their common good balance sheet as well, and not only integrating the idea into teaching and research, or as a local community or political municipality to start the process from the bottom as a grassroots.
Thank you very much. So this concludes our panel. Give, please, the speakers a big applause. Thank you very much for being with us in this great panel. In Turkey, there are also some very poor farmers who are producing without an organic certificate just like organic producers. This is what I wanted to emphasize in my comment. But of course, what the representative has said is fully true as well in practice. So now I would like to invite Marcus Arbenz and Frank Ahorn to join us here to give us some opinion about, please, hello, welcome. They will give us some information on how the conference is going to proceed from now on, and we'll share where we are going. Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much. The good message I have, the coffee is ready. And another good message I have, we are food secure. We have enough food actually for you, but before you can go to lunch, we start with our breakout sessions. We had actually now our mind-blowing ideas from the panels here, but you had to be passively in the background. Now it's actually time for you to get involved. We have 4 tracks to be active. You heard it already. The science track is actually for the scientists to go share latest insights. The practitioners track is really for those who want to have hands-on experience exchange. The workshops for those to find a platform to work together. And we have one innovation. This is the main track this year. And Frank is going to introduce the main track.
Thanks, Marcus, and hello, everybody. The main track is a new element in this Congress. The idea is to further develop the food for thought, which we got this morning from the keynote speakers, to go deeper into what organic agriculture really means, what are the positionings, what are the values we want to take to the future, and to investigate into how to get to growth, how to upscale what has been working so far, and how to reach out in new ways. So this is the place where we are trying to get from the blah blah to the do, is how to define what are the actions for the future. But before we go for more food for thought, I think we need to go for food for the body. Enjoy your break, and we will start at what time? Half an hour later.
Exactly.
Yeah. We delay everything for half an hour, so you can have actually at 12, I think, yeah, 20 minutes maybe. Then we are just half an hour later than in the program is announced. Enjoy your coffee. Thanks.
And see you in the sessions. Frank, don't go anywhere. This is for you, and for you, Marcus, together, to continue to give over to the next adventure.
Thank you.